Welcome back to camp. Today we're sitting down with two of the hardest working wrestlers I've had the privilege of coaching here in the city of Boston, Sam Silva and Jarmanny Rivera. This fall, both are headed to Baldwin Wallace University to continue wrestling at the college level. What's interesting about their decision to go there is in the summer of the past year, we decided to take a college visit across 8 different schools, one of which was Baldwin Wallace, which really enticed them, and cut to now, that's where they're planning on going. Now, throughout our discussion, we talk a little bit about that visit and that trip we went on and some of the memories. And we also talk about the infamous 7 a.m. workouts we did all last summer, as well as our coaching and training program, which employs youth throughout the summer and the school year to go coach and train young middle schoolers and youth wrestlers around the city. So Sam and Jarmanny have both really stood out to me when they've gone to these sites. The kids love working with them. I've seen their leadership skills develop. I've seen their communication skills develop. And I think that's going to be on display throughout this podcast. These two represent what's possible when young people commit to a long time journey. Now, I don't think they knew what they were committing to in middle school, but throughout high school, they really fell in love with the sport. And it shows because they're getting other young people in the city of Boston to fall in love with wrestling. So tune in for Sam and Jarmanny. I'm excited that you'll get to hear about what's next and what they've overcome.
Hello, and today on camp, the Coaching and Mentoring Playbook, we have two of my favorite wrestlers across the city of Boston. We have one from Boston Latin Academy. He's a senior. We have another one from Josiah Quincy Upper School, also a senior. And they're not just excelling on the mat, but they're also excelling off the mat and in life. Welcome, Sam Silva and Jarmanny Rivera.
How y'all doing?
Hello.
So I think you are number 3 for our seniors in Boston who are on the camp episode. And to give a little bit of context of your guys' wrestling credentials, before we start about your origin story, Sam, you rattled off 40 wins this year to reach a good milestone, which is one of the main high school metric milestones for wrestling, and that's 100 wins.
Yeah.
Jarmanny, you were able to accomplish becoming a 3-time state placer this season, which is a big task in itself, especially starting from the age that you started at. So congratulations on 2 incredible seasons. So Sam, how about you tell us about your origin story? Because I don't want to give too much of it away. I want you to speak for yourself on this. But, coming from Boston Latin Academy, which is a team that was founded by Beat the Streets Boston's founder, Jose, back when it was Boston Youth Wrestling. So it's a team that hasn't been around very long. I think BLS and Josiah Quincy are the 2 longest serving teams. I want to say BLS has been around longer than JQ, but I could be mistaken on that. But wrestling is growing in the city of Boston. Part of that was getting that BLA OB co-op team off the ground. So, Sam, what was it like being part of that origin story? Because I think your first year of wrestling, it wasn't a varsity team yet.
I started in the summer of 2021. That was like right after quarantine, and that was actually the first year where it was a varsity team.
Okay.
So it was a very unique experience to kind of have start out with a group of I think we had just enough. We had literally just 14 wrestlers, and they were putting me in at 106 when I was 70 pounds. So we had literally just enough people to be a full varsity roster with a full varsity team.
I'd say that's a rite of passage for every little guy who is on the high school team, right? What do you weigh? That's all right. Go out there and wrestle 103, 106, whatever it is.
Throw them to the wolves.
Yeah, especially in states where you can be a high school competitor while you're a middle schooler. Like in Ohio, that's not a thing. Wasn't when I was competing, but that's one of the interesting dynamics here in Massachusetts is if you were a 7th grader, especially at a school that BLA is, where you have 7th and 8th graders as part of the high school, you can compete varsity matches for the high school. So 7th and 8th grade, you're a little guy giving up 20, 30 pounds in a sport where there's weight classes, so you only can give up a couple pounds. What was that like for you?
We'll say it was a struggle. I mean, I had a lot of fun those first 2 years, but also there was a lot of hardship, being a 70-pound little kid fresh off quarantine. It was my first time ever on a sports team. So it was I didn't really know, one, how to control my body very well, but also just being so underweight, I would pretty much just get ran over by all these bigger guys. It was crazy.
Yeah. And giving up that weight, it's easy for someone to want to have quit a tough sport like wrestling. What caused you to keep coming back?
There's a few things. I mean, like I loved being part of the team, even though like those first 2 years, 7th, 8th grade, I felt like I wasn't contributing much. Like I was still there. I loved the community. I loved being there with like my older brother and some of our other Beat the Streets alums. But I also had a lot of support from my coaches at the time, which you already mentioned him, Jose Valenzuela, and our other coach who was from OB, Coach Hojat. They always motivated me a lot. You know, Coach V would tell me about his high school experience, similar to mine, like starting off as a little guy. And Coach Hojat just always made sure I was trying to be more aggressive on the mat, trying to be less passive.
Okay. So you start, you're a tiny guy, you're getting beat up, and now that because I wasn't around back then, but I see you now, and you see this across wrestling in general, right? You create discipline, you learn how to persevere, you learn how to overcome like big challenges, overcome what feels like failure. You know, I see you being one of, if not the hardest worker in Boston right now, as being built off of all of those tough times. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was definitely a good motivator back then. Like when I was just like before I even won a match, I was like, oh, I gotta win at least one before I do any before I even think about quitting. But even looking back on it now, is like how far I've come. It's definitely still a big motivator for me. Is like I've come this far already. I can definitely go farther.
Yeah. And do you remember your first win?
I do. I don't remember the exact like team it was against, but it was like the first quad meet of my freshman year. So it was like winter 2022, like 2022, 2023 season. I had already lost twice that day, so I'm getting in my own head. I'm like, oh man, another year where I'm not going to win any, huh? And then I go out on the mat, and like we have this super high scoring match against like some random kid I haven't seen since. But it was like I was up by 2, and I think I got a reversal in the third after starting on bottom, and I pinned him. And I was watching the video back a few weeks ago. It was a great memory. You can see like my entire team get hype and pop off when I finally win one.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting things about the dual format is when you have a kid or have a teammate who overcomes something that was very unexpected, and they get that win when you didn't see it coming, and you watch all of their teammates who are used to beating up on them at practice every day just swarm them, hype them up, show them tons of love. I mean, that's what, as a coach, that's one of the greatest things to see. Even if you're losing the dual meet, it's like that was kind of worth us making this trip over here. Let's switch over to Jarmanny real quick. Well, let's take it back a step. I want you to say, when you started in 8th grade, what got you competing?
I just found the sport very interesting. My 7th grade teacher, he was a coach at JQ, Malcolm Mitchell. He got me into wrestling.
And he coaches where now?
He doesn't coach anywhere. He's retired.
Oh, okay.
He's in the New England Hall of Fame. But he got me into wrestling. He taught English, and I was in 7th grade. This was during COVID. Showed me a movie. I don't remember the movie, what it's called now. But it was just about, like, 4 kids just going through, like, a high school season. They're inner city kids just like me. I'm pretty sure this was taking place in Chicago. And I kind of just seen myself in them, inner city kids going through a wrestling season. You know, it's just hard. And then I joined the wrestling team in 8th grade.
So he spent a year basically.
Yeah, like prepping me.
Almost like, recruiting.
Yeah.
And like a soft pitch on the sport. Interesting.
And then 8th grade, I joined. It was just like Sam was saying, it was like very rough. I don't think I think my first win came at the end of the season at a JV tournament. But it was just that season specifically was a lot of perseverance.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, you know, now that you guys, I put a lot of responsibility on, and we'll talk about some of the coaching and training stuff you guys are doing, but I put a lot of responsibility on you guys to, you know, establish relationships at your schools, at the schools you're working in, and doing recruiting in that way. Having gone through being a middle school that was recruited to the sport and seeing it took a year to get you in there, it's good for me to hear that because, you know, we're at sites and, you know, kids are having a hard time picking up the sport and they're being discouraged. I think that's a part of your story that you need to share a little bit. Like, it took you a year to get the courage to even try out on the sport, right? To be interested in the sport. Mm-hmm. And then what happened then? Because you were quite a different middle schooler back then.
Yeah, I was kind of overweight. I remember before the season I checked my weight. It was like 240 pounds. And then Yeah, it was just hard from there. I think that was one of the things that kind of made me want to wrestle too, just like to lose weight and just gain confidence. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So a little context. Right now, Sam wrestled at 120 this season, and Jarmanny, you wrestled at 157 pounds, and then ended the season at 165. So, having started at, essentially heavyweight,
Yeah.
and then not with much intention on losing the weight, maybe some, but not like that being the sole purpose of you getting in the sport or part of the sport. It just happened by design, by nature of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, I would talk about our athletes being, we're in the gym, we're working hard, we want to be cut out of marble, stuff like that. And, just even having last summer, watching both of you transform throughout the intensive program we were doing, 7 a.m.s every morning over at the Reggie Lewis Center, right? How'd you feel like walking away from a summer where, I mean, what would you describe your summer transformation even last year?
I mean, my summer transfer, I feel like last summer was just a lot of discipline. I mean, last year, my junior year, I wrestled 175 pounds. And then in the off season, I got up to 188. And then I decided, let me just try to like really put a lot of effort in, just try to get cut out of marble and just work hard and see where my weight would be at the end of the summer. And then the summer was really rough. We did the 7 a.m.s. I have never done like a morning workout that intense. I remember the first day, we came from Assassins, which is a wrestling hard. What do you say, like Sam? What do you say, like a hard, like 3 days?
Super intense. Training 3 to 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Barely any break.
Yeah, and then even we did the 7 a.m.s right after that, and then it was just like, damn, I'm exhausted from the camp, and then I have to look at Shepherd at 7 in the morning to be at the Reggie Lewis.
Literally the next day.
Literally the next day, and do bear crawls on the track, sprints on the track, buddy carries on the track. It was really, looking back at it, it was awful in the moment, but I definitely am very grateful for the experience. And I definitely, throughout that whole experience, I grew friendships with, like, for example, Sam and David.
Yeah, I mean, not going to the same high school as many of the kids, who you're competing around and sharing those training sessions with, and then walking away with, like, man, we just did that together. That's something cool.
Yeah, I feel like it gives you, like, a sense of ownership, like, I did that. Like, you put a stamp on it, I did that. That's one thing that wrestling has taught me.
Yeah. So we approached the off season, right? Because everybody's thinking, what weight am I going next year? Things like that. Things that, there's some piece of that you should maybe be considering, but it's not really the sole purpose often.
Yeah.
Really trying to get better. And, what I told you before the season was, or before the summer, like, let's not worry about where your weight's at. Maybe you get bigger, maybe you get smaller. Let's just do everything right. Let's do the nutrition right. Let's do the weight training right. Let's do the technique and practicing hard. Let's work on all those habits. Let's do that right. And the result was, you shrank, which is fine. Very, very fine outcome. It would have been perfectly fine if you would have turned into a giant meathead and been wrestling 190, right?
Yeah.
Like, either outcome's good. But, we just put the work in, you did the right stuff. And, like, kudos to everyone who was coming to those 7 a.m.s, putting that work in, because that was not easy. We had a good group of kids who were very consistent.
Yeah, I think the 7 a.m. Sam, you would say like the last like 4 weeks, 5 weeks?
Yeah.
We had a good batch of like 5 consistent guys.
Like 8.
Yeah, 5 to 8 consistent guys. And it was just awesome. Like seeing like I don't go to BLA, but seeing BLA guys, BLS guys.
Yeah,
Some JQ guys come in, yeah.
We had like people from CLRS. We were just
CLRS.
Everyone in the city and like
I think from
Greater Boston just coming together.
Greater Boston too.
Yeah.
There was a couple kids. It was a phenomenal time. I mean, I'm seeing the community grow, especially in the summertime. No one wants to be up at 7 in the morning at the Reggie Lewis.
Yeah, making the commute to get over there.
Making the commute
On your own, buses, metro, train, bikes, stuff like that. I mean, that's commitment.
Yeah, it's like 90 degrees out, and then you got to be at the Reggie Lewis's.
What I liked about it was the first week, me as a coach, I put a little gold star on my board every time I get someone to throw up at practice. But the first week, a couple kids are puking a little bit, like just because we're working that hard. And as a coach, you're like, well, I want to make sure that, one, we're not pushing kids away because it's too hard, but two is like, make sure this is the appropriate amount of difficulty, right? I think part of it is in the morning, like you're naturally,
tired.
You're tired, it's another level of commitment to wake up early and fuel yourself the right way, hydrate the right way, do those things to kind of prevent that. But then you'd have kids who, got a spur of motivation who'd come in and it'd be really hard for them to keep up. But we were still doing afternoon practices that were, a typical paced practice, right?
Yeah, those 2-a-days on Tuesdays and Thursdays were rough. I mean, it was I liked how you structured though. Like in the 7 a.m. was really intensive, and then in the afternoon we'd play dodgeball.
Yeah,
That mix of pace that was pretty fun. We did dodgeball a couple times, and then
well, I think part of that is when I had the opportunity to set up the 7 a.m.s, it was brought to me and I brought it to you guys. I said, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna reserve this space, commit to doing it, commit to being there myself and the whole 9 yards unless this is what you guys want. Like I wanted to give you the agency on it. Like if you guys want to have very hard practices at 7 a.m., then let's do it. I'll be here and we're gonna do that. But just know it's gonna be hard, and I'm gonna be asking you to be consistent. Mm-hmm. And then the afternoon practices will be, more in line with what you have had to this point.
Yeah, I remember before the summer, you told me if I tell you how high.
Which I think is good, right? Because as a coach, and you're someone who's so curious about getting better, technique, all of those things. It's like, okay, the next step is like, I will do my best to help you get there.
Yeah, you'll meet me there.
I will meet you there, but stay committed, right? Because teenagers, many of people listening might be coaches themselves or have teenage kids, right? There'll be resistance when you ask them to do something difficult. I mean, that's the way it is with adults.
Yeah.
That's a normal piece of life. But if you want to get better, you have to do difficult stuff. And that's why sports are great, right? And that's why wrestling is a great sport. So speaking of doing something difficult, 3-time state placer, literally in your third year of wrestling, you placed at state.
Yeah, my sophomore year.
What does it feel like? How do you feel about being a 3-time state placer at a school like JQ, a small school, not a ton of people who have left that type of legacy at the school? City of Boston, we're trying to get more people to have that sort of legacy. It's hard starting as an 8th grader and having that level of success as a sophomore. I started wrestling when I was 5, right? I didn't place a state till my junior year in the high school format, right? Like junior high, middle school, a little bit different, but high school, you beat me to the punch right there. So how does it feel being a 3-time, knowing that you've accomplished that?
Actually, I'll take it back. My freshman year. So my freshman year, I remember going to the sectional tournament, which is the state qualifier. I went 0-2. I was devastated. Like, I was crying. I was just crying. And then my 2 coaches, my assistant coach, Dante Wilson, he said, it's all right. Just feel this. But next year, you're going to be a state placer. And then, joining the sport, I never thought about, like, being a state placer. I didn't even know what state was. Like, so it was pretty unreal. Like, I remember sophomore year placing the state tournament. It was, like, surreal. I was happy. I was talking to one of the BLA guys, Emilio. I was telling him the story about me being a state placer. And then it sparked his curiosity. I kind of could tell, like, he could see, like, I told him I was a state placer, and then I think something in his head clicked. Was like, he could do the same thing. Being a state placer as a sophomore it's one of my happiest moments in wrestling.
Yeah. And, compounding that with having doing it again the next year and then the following year. And of course, I know both of you guys, like, I saw the hard work you put in this past season. You guys set very high goals for yourself. Yeah. Came up short, which is completely normal. In this sport, there's only a handful of guys. Division I level, there's 10 guys on the top of the podium at the end of the season, right? That's part of it. That's part of the sport. It's part of overcoming that stuff. And, I know, having been there as an athlete, it's easy to walk away from your senior year and be, dang, that hurt. And as a coach, it's even worse, right? I was at both your guys's, ends of your seasons, and I'm standing there crying with you. It's painful, but there's so much to take away from what you've accomplished, and we're going to talk about how that's going to fuel your college aspect. I know when I first met the two of you, I didn't think there was much interest on your guys' part about wanting to be college athletes.
There was not.
No, actually, I'm gonna take it back. Last year, I didn't even want to go to college. Last year, I didn't want to. But towards the end of the year, meeting you, talking about college, how that kind of shaped you, kind of sparked my curiosity. I'm like, okay, let's try this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it was like I always wanted to go to college, but like when I first started, I was like, nah, I don't want to wrestle. Like when I first started wrestling, obviously as like a little seventh, eighth grader, we already talked about that.
Mhm.
I didn't enjoy it very much, but like as I met you, I kept talking to you, and you kept raising the standard more and more at practice. Like used to practice twice a week, and then that became like 3 times, and it became like 5 times, sometimes 6 times a week. It's like the standard raised, and then I realized, wait a minute, I actually like seeing the success and like the fruits of my labor. I don't want this to be over in like 2 years. So like as sophomore and junior year rolled around, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I can do something more. Maybe I can do a few more years.
That's good. Well, who knows? Maybe you'll be wrestling all the way to your 40s.
Maybe.
Make a longer sprint than I can. So let's switch a little bit because you're talking much about your athletic experience, but something that should get a lot of praise is your guys' roles as coaches in training across the city of Boston. So, during the summer we run an intensive coach and training program. 2 years ago was the first year you guys both participated in, right?
Yep.
So a lot of that's focused on leadership, communication, being able to go to community centers, go to middle school programs, and build relationships with those youth who were just you guys a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
When we coach middle school guys, it's like there's little Sam, there's little Jarmanny, and and I get to watch them, and you probably as well. Throughout the season, you start to see them kind of transform, and things change and click for them, and you're like, that's going to be the guy in a couple years who is sitting in this show talking about him being a 3-time state placer, right? And that's really fun. So what is it like being a coach in training during the school year, going to community sites, going to the Burke, going to Frizzoli Center, going to the Umana? What's it like for you being a coach in training, giving back to sometimes 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th graders?
Yeah, I'll speak on going to the Burke like before the season, after the season, during the season. It's a great time, honestly. Like you'd assume it's like a big time like commitment, but like we're there and it doesn't. Like I feel like the time just goes like that. It goes so quick because I love working with the guys over there, and like they're so like when you're working with a set of middle schoolers, like really young kids who are so willing to like just absorb everything you're saying and like really want to actually take in how like that you want to help them is great. So I really feel like I'm giving back to the community in the way that I like took from the community almost. Like I got all this help when I first started, and like people believed in me, put expectations on me, and like told me I could be great. And now I'm over here as a senior about to go off to college telling like some 7th graders, hey, you're up next. Like just keep training hard, keep practicing hard, and you'll get to wherever you want to be.
And then there's the part convincing them to go compete.
Yeah.
And then going to the tournament with them and coaching them. Like, how is that shaping how you approach competing when you have a 7th grader who's afraid to compete?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely remember how they felt because I still get nervous before matches. Like, I feel like everyone does.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember it felt so much more intense when I was just, like, a little kid. But it's kind of interesting to watch from the other side as a coach, telling them, hey, it's okay to be, like, nervous, but don't let that stick around with you. Like, it's okay to be nervous, but don't stay nervous when you get on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting to tell them that, and then you think about it in your own head when you're still competing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you had a moment like that. You were coaching in a tournament, and then someone came up to you and they told you you were nervous, and then you kind of felt that. That was just a very interesting thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you hear that from middle schoolers, and when you're an adult, you have to, like, take a step back and be like, I know exactly how they feel.
Yeah.
I remember that. I've been away from competing for over a decade now, and I still remember that type of feeling before you go out there, put the foot on the line, right?
It's nerve-wracking.
It is nerve-wracking. And, part of a coach is you're dealing with a lot of different, brains and personalities, different characteristics, and there's some things that translate very easily across a lot of people, but it's different cases for each person, right? You
Yeah.
have a kid who has a different approach to the match. Maybe it works well. You have a kid with a certain approach mentally that you have to figure out how can we kind of try to shape this so you can get a little bit more out of the hard work you're putting in. What's been your favorite part of being a coach in training?
When I'm going to do Mana on Wednesdays, I'm just excited like to be around the kids. They're so, they're very sporadic, but they're so like fun. They're like very fun group of kids. They listen. Sometimes they don't, but but they're just a group. They're a
That
good
goes for
group
the
of
same for
kids.
high schoolers.
Yeah. And I have a little brother, and he's 7, and sometimes I see him in the little kids.
Yeah.
It's just an overall fun experience. Like sometimes when I'm going to different schools and helping out, sometimes it's not even about showing technique. It's just about building relationships with the kids and then seeing them slowly trust you, and then they start wrestling and doing stuff like that. It's just a fun experience.
Do you think that showing technique helps you guys think of technique yourself, like working through how your positioning is?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
because you have to think about like, what do I do here and how can I explain this to the kid? Because everyone thinks differently.
Yeah.
Everyone perceives the sport differently.
So basically you're saying is you go to show a move, you think about it a little bit differently after you show it, reflect on it. Next time you're at practice, this was kind of working a little bit better here, but this is how it breaks down a little bit differently.
Yeah, I feel like you typically you don't think about something so thoroughly until you're trying to teach it to someone else.
Yeah.
So like when I'm going to show like a move at the Burke and like I grab like little Jose, I'm like, here, Jose, come here, let me show this move real quick for everyone else. And then I'm finishing it through and I'm like going to practice the next day. I'm like, hold on, maybe I should like put a little more pressure right here or something. Like
Yeah.
you don't think about it so much.
What are some of the characteristics, or what is one characteristic that you feel it takes to step in and run a practice that you've had to work on? Because I make you guys run the practice. I'm there supporting, but there's a time where I pass the torch and I'm like, all right, run warm up. What are we showing today?
Yeah, I think one thing I kind of struggled is, well, I'm getting better at it now, is like speaking up. I'm like really quiet. But there's moments in, even like this year in the Umana Center, where you tell me, all right, we're going to run warm up, show them technique. And it's just kind of like being a leader, stepping up, like who's next in that sense.
I think for me, it came with actually planning out what I wanted to show the kids that day. Like once you started giving me more freedom to like show what I wanted to show. I remember you told me, it's like, all right, there's this list of all the moves that I show, elbow pass, high crotch, all the stuff that I'm good at teaching. Now you got to go and teach them what you're good at, those firemen, those turns on top. And I'm like, okay, now I kind of have to, I know I have to go in there and actually run the entire thing today. I need to know what I want them to learn and what I want them to improve on.
Yeah. And speaking as a coach, you have to kind of expand your own technique set to show as much as you can, right? There's stuff that are fundamentals or that you think are important for every wrestler to have, but then there's stuff you're trying to add in, and it's good to stay sharp like that.
Yeah.
Because you're going to come across a room where it's like, I know how to do that. Can you show me something new? Or it's like, I'm in a position where, I need to be good at this. You as a coach have to go show them how to be good at that, even though you might not put yourself in those wrestling positions quite a bit. And then you have to be able to communicate that effectively. So I've seen both of you guys grow quite a bit in that sense. And, this summer we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing on the communication skills, right? Being able to hold the attention of a room. You got a bunch of little kids that want to be running around like maniacs. You got to get their attention. You got to keep them focused. You got to get them working hard. So that is the fun and the craziness that comes with running a practice, especially a youth practice.
Yeah.
So we're going to cut to a quick break real quick, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about, Beat the Streets, the culture that you guys are helping instill across the city of Boston as far as wrestling. And then we're going to dive into your guys' upcoming college experience next season. So remember, you are on Camp, the Coaching and Mentoring Playbook, WBCA 1029 FM Boston, Boston's community radio station. Welcome back to Camp. We have Jarmanny and Sam, two of our senior athletes here in the city of Boston, and we were just talking about their roles as coaches in training across the city of Boston, going to community centers, going to middle schools all year round, school year and in the summertime, working with kids, teaching them how to wrestle as part of our Beat the Streets New England CIT program. And before we get too far into talking about the city culture and what we're trying to do here, big picture, I always tell our CITs and a lot of our better wrestlers who are a little bit older, so, remember that these younger kids, this younger generation, they think you guys are the coolest kids in the world. Now, I think I'm teetering right on the edge. I'm old enough to know that. I'm young enough to still somewhat be cool for high school and college kids, at least pretend so. But, as I say, youth and middle schoolers, they don't think I'm cool. They're over here going 6'7". So what is it?
Guy.
Yeah, that was all summer last year, by the way, which was exhausting. But what does it feel like? When did you notice that younger wrestlers look up to you guys quite a bit?
You want to go?
Yeah, I'll start. I think for me, honestly, it was like maybe 1 or 2 months ago when we were just at the Wang YMCA, just running a little practice. And we have like some of our little guys, like Jeremiah and the two twins, they're like asking, and you asked, who wants to work with Sam today? And they all grabbed on me and said, "What, me? No, I want to work with him." I was like, I didn't realize y'all liked me coaching you guys that much. So that was like a heartwarming experience for me. And I realized, oh, okay, they actually do kind of like look up to me and think like I know what I'm talking about when I'm teaching them.
Yeah, as a coach who's running those practices, like, awesome, Sam, you're the man. Get over there and help them get better, right? They're going to be excited to work with you.
I had that moment this year at the Umana with a kid named Lucas. He doesn't.
Oh, he's a big fan of you.
Yeah. He doesn't really like to listen to you, but when I'm around him, he's attentive. He pays attention. He does the stuff. So that was one moment. And then I had a moment the other day with Emilio that he kind of like looks up to me. We were talking about like the hardest workers, and then he was saying me and Sam, he was just saying like he admires the work that we do. And it was just a pretty good, cool experience.
Emilio is on that trajectory right now. I keep saying he's turning the corner this off season, and
yeah.
I remember last
It'll be
year
there real soon.
we hosted Ben Hada on Emerson's campus for a screening of his documentary series called Clash of Dynasties, which is about St. Ed's and Walsh in the 90s, like top 2 high school teams in the country, back where I'm from in Ohio, right down the road from each other. And we're doing a Q&A, and Emilio raises his hand, and he's like, how did he ask it? He said, he's a middle schooler at the time. He says, how do you let these high schoolers know who's up next, that I'm up next? And that goes to show, everything we just said, right, is he wants the high schoolers to know, I want to be the best guy in Boston next. I'm trying to do that. And kudos to him. I mean, similar middle school story to you, but he has been training hard, and he's following the work ethic you guys are helping install across this city in our wrestling community.
I mean, I think he's one of the only middle schoolers that were at the 7 a.m.s.
Last year.
Yeah, he was there pretty consistently.
He was there pretty consistently.
Yeah.
I think he was like the only one.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep watching him wrestle, and honestly, in the last couple months, not just about his talent on the mat, but I've seen him, be more vocal as a leader, which is really good to see. Like, I'm excited to watch him this summer continue to like grow and evolve in that way. And those are the things when you look across your younger audience, and I know I'm going to be losing the 2 of you off to college in the school year, and it's like, okay, I have some guys who are like taking this seriously. They want to step up and be leaders in this space and be leaders in this community. So like, key word there, community. What do you feel like the wrestling community is for you?
For me, I'll go specifically for like Beat the Streets in terms of a wrestling community. It almost feels like every single person I talk to is kind of like my brother, or like my sister, like depending on who I'm talking to. It's like we all have a similar experience of like, going through this tough sport, tough training, but we all like love it so much. We all have such passion for it. So it's almost like anytime you talk to anyone who's in the same room as you, even if you don't know them that well, you can immediately connect on something.
Yeah, it's almost like the energy in the room.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, like, Beat the Streets. Everyone's smiling before practices. Everyone's like, I don't really hear anyone saying, like, oh my God, like, they're dreading the workout.
Yeah.
Everyone's just, like, full of energy. Everyone's not dreading it. And
Like,
then, it's just a good room to be in, and having like all my friends are literally there, so it's like we hang out like every day of the week pretty much.
Yeah, like we know it's gonna be hard, but we're all together, so it's like it's not that bad.
Exactly. Then we're gonna get.
It'll be hard, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing that I think about the sport of wrestling is, you know, there's so much about your own goals that you're kind of putting into the sport and you're chasing and pursuing. But when you come to practice, a lot of the pieces that are motivating you at a certain point, after you've been in it for so long, is like, I get to go see my friends.
Yeah.
I have those relationships. I'm going to be around, you know, this guy that I didn't get to see at school because he goes to the school down the road. This group of kids who I get to train with today that I didn't see this week because, you know, they're coming in from the other side of Boston and they're doing programming in the East Boston side of town, right? And I get to dab them up and say, how's it going? You know, and
Yeah.
I think, you know, the relationships you build through wrestling, like that's something that will last forever.
For sure.
And speaking of, right, you guys go to two separate high schools. Now, Jarmanny, I remember when I first met you a couple years ago, you know, I'm not afraid to say this on here, you almost were like a little bit of a hater on the other Boston schools.
Yeah.
Right? And then by the end of summer, it started to turn. And then school year, it's like completely different. And that's just from being in the space around a bunch of different Boston kids, right? And now cut to what's next is the two of you are going to be college teammates together.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I'm excited because of that, right? I think you guys will hold each other accountable, which is important because it's not like you're going down the road. So, a little backstory. Last summer, you know, we're going through our intensive workshop stuff, and I think this summer is going to be even more intensive in a fun way, right? And, you know, I know you're at that point thinking about wrestling in college. You came to me and it's like, I want to go on college visits outside of New England. You kind of were advocating, like, I want to see other schools because maybe, well, one, there's not a ton of wrestling programs in New England. Like, they're starting to grow. We're starting to get more. Emmanuel, right down the road, has a new program, which is awesome. We have a team in the city. But we also do things where we go to those campuses from time to time anyway, right? We've been to Johnson and Wales before.
Yeah.
There's tournaments that are at Rhode Island College. So there's opportunities to kind of do those college visits. Like Bridgewater, we've been to Bridgewater. We took you guys on a visit there last year.
Yeah.
We've gone to wrestling camps there. But you advocated that you wanted to go on some college visits. And obviously once school year starts, it's like, how can you squeeze that in?
Yeah.
And then you think about, okay, flights, all this stuff that goes into that. It's a lot of work. So what I came up with, and, you know, through talking with you guys, is like, okay, our seniors who have been super committed this summer, these 7 a.m.s, let's plan out a little carrot for the end of the summer, right? So that we're working towards something. Let's go to college visits. So we did a little caravan. It was the two of you. We had a wrestler from BLS, David, and we had a wrestler from Cambridge, Samir. And we first started in Ithaca. So we went up to Ithaca College, right? We did a visit there. From there, we went to Erie, PA. We visited Mercyhurst and Gannon. Then we went to Cleveland, my hometown. And we stopped at Lake Erie College, my alma mater. We went to Kent State, and we visited their May 4th Center because you guys have been involved with some stuff at Emerson around the May 4th shooting that happened in 1970, so you guys have a little bit of historical context with that. So you guys got to see the museum there. And from there, we went to Baldwin Wallace, and we also went to Case Western, right? And then on the way back, we stopped at Penn State.
Yeah.
So it was like 4 or 5 days, super intensive. And then right in the middle of that, we also went to the Real American Freestyle event, which was the first one, which was pretty fun.
It was,
That's
it was
great,
pretty
yeah.
fun.
Now, from my perspective, I'm the coach. I'm the adult doing all the driving, dealing with the teenagers who are being silly, right? And sleeping in the car while I'm, you know, locked in. So, you know, it was work for sure for me. But after having done that trip, I think you guys walked away from a bit more information, I should say, collecting data about like what you wanted from college. What was the Baldwin Wallace thing that kind of stuck out to you when we went on that visit?
The team atmosphere, like everyone was there. And I think we went in, I think, in middle of August, and I think that's like the week that everyone comes in, the incoming freshmen. It just felt like a very strong community. And then I like the campus a lot. I mean, I liked Ithaca's campus too, but I liked Baldwin Wallace a lot.
Yeah, for me it was definitely between Ithaca and Baldwin Wallace as well
Yeah,
at the
those
beginning.
yeah.
And then it like kind of Baldwin Wallace kind of ended up taking the lead in where I wanted to go the most because for a variety of factors. But I think the thing that I came back to the most when I was thinking about where do I want to go like a few months ago was how welcoming like not only just the coaches were but also like the wrestlers themselves were and just like the entire community and the environment. Like we got to train with them, we got to eat with them in their dining hall, we got to lift with them. Yeah, we lifted with them. Like it was such an enjoyable time, and I was like, if I want to go somewhere, I want to go somewhere where it kind of feels similar to like how we are in Boston with Beat the Streets. It's like you get a new guy in the room. It's like we're not hazing them or anything. We're inviting them in. It's like, hey, you're in our community now. It's like I felt like that's how Baldwin Wallace kind of was when we
Everyone was
walked
so
in.
welcoming.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, that was actually one of my highlights of the trip. We trained with them too.
yeah,
It wasn't honestly that different from our like 7 a.m.s or even the lifts that they do. It was
Yeah.
like, okay, I could do this.
yeah,
Yeah, and what's great is, they're great. They're a good program. They're a very good program. And I think across the other visits we did, we went to Division 1, 2, and 3 schools. You guys got a good taste of all of those and like what they offered. I mean, just going on a BW visit, you get scholarship just for doing the visit, which I didn't know about at the time, but that's pretty awesome as well.
Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of schools could do to become more enticing on their visit, right? Because once you're there, it's the culture that makes you want to be there. And that's for any school, right? Is like, is this place worth going to? I'm here now. What's my experience with it? Is it something that makes me want to commit to 4 years of my life there? I think their programs kind of also align with what you guys want to study, right?
yeah.
And that is?
No, I'm doing physical therapy.
Okay.
Criminal justice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, so there might be some more Boston wrestlers being announced going there soon. I'll keep that here for a second because it might not be a firm commitment yet, but I think pretty soon you might hear of another Boston wrestler going there, which is exciting. But
Hope so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and which will be great is that we just had Quinn on the last episode who's going to Case Western there with Alex, and then we'll have 2 at BW. You guys will be right down the road from each other.
Yeah, I think it's only like 40 minutes total apart because Cleveland is right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna see Quinn and AGB at the first Open, the BW Open,
Yeah, yeah.
and then Case Westerns they also host the Open, so we're gonna be
Yeah,
there.
we might see them like 3 or
Yeah,
4
we're gonna
times
see
in
them
the
a lot.
season.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to be college teammates. Did you ever expect that you were going to go to college with someone from your high school wrestling team? I mean, maybe a little different for you.
Yeah.
No, I don't really think so because like starting out, I was like there wasn't a lot of people on the BLA team that were like my age from my grade, but meeting Jarmanny is like even when I first met Jarmanny, it was never in my head like, oh, we're gonna go to college together. But then like we got close to the 7 a.m. practices, like we're boys now, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
friendship grew definitely from those 7 a.m.s.
yeah, growth through struggle, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just made more sense as time went on. It's like we have similar goals, so it's like let's go accomplish it together.
And I think doing trips to either tournaments or doing a trip like this, with people, you kind of bond around that as well.
Bond, yeah.
It seemed like when we finished the trip, you guys were all, the 4 compadres. I thought you were all going to commit to the same school, whatever school that was going to be. What was your favorite part about the trip? It doesn't have to be about BW. It could be about any part of the trip.
I think it was going to RAF and just watching all that high level wrestling, being at the first meet,
yeah.
like meeting all those guys. I mean, Calde, who did we met? Caden Henschel,
Yeah,
and then
Henschel.
we saw Nato. It was
Yeah, we seen Tomasello,
yeah.
Alex Daringer.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say Jarmanny is a student of the game more than anybody else in Boston. He's watching footage all the time. This is actually payback because he always sends me videos of like interviews I did when I was 18 or 19. So this is what, his wrestlers are going to send him one day is like, I saw that video you did where you were in that interview in the podcast when you were just a boy. So I gave you credit on that because you guys are all, fanboying over all these, world-class athletes there, getting photos with them because we got floor seats. We had
Yeah,
floor
we
seats
got
and it was
floor
very
seats.
accessible. And obviously you guys have met Tomasello before. He was in person in Boston a couple years ago. and then had the Zoom call with him. Obviously, like him and I were high school teammates, but I give Jarmanny credit because he knows ball. Jarmanny, who'd you get your photo with? Everybody's getting photos with like
Kyle
Kennedy
Day,
Blades.
Kennedy Blades,
Yeah.
Real Woods.
Yeah.
I got my photo taken with Alex Daringer.
Yeah. And he wasn't even competing. He was
just a coach.
yeah. I remember Samir was like, "Who's that?"
I was like, you don't know.
And I'm like, Jarmanny knows ball because that guy's a beast. Not just is he a beast, but also because, he's someone who I think when you watch wrestling, like you try to model some of your game after him.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So was RAF your favorite part of the trip too?
No, I like the car ride. The car ride was fun.
Probably my least favorite part of the trip.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No, actually, my favorite part was Swenson's.
Oh my gosh, the
Swenson's.
burgers.
Shout out Swenson's,
Shout
yes,
out
my
Swenson's.
hometown favorite food place.
We're hitting up Swenson's again.
Yeah, now that's why you guys made your commitment to go to college in Cleveland, was so you'd be right down the road for Swenson's.
Getting a burger every day.
Yeah. So what are you most nervous about with college? Is it about Jarmanny being a messy roommate, or
No. It's a big change, living in Boston my entire life, always being next to my family. It's like we're going all the way out to Ohio, like a 10-hour drive. It's like being separated from your family for such a long time. It's like I have little experiences here and there, maybe like a week away from them, but it'll definitely be a big change adapting to being alone and like just having a bunch of responsibilities.
Yeah, I feel like one challenge I'm gonna have is same thing, not being with my family, and just I feel like that I'm just gonna have to grow as like a man over there. My family's not gonna be in distance. I'm gonna have to grow. That's one thing I'm really looking forward to.
as a good outlook, looking forward to it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be tough, but you're looking forward to growing in that sense.
Yeah, being independent, having some agency.
Yeah. And, I think you guys have developed quite a bit of agency compared to a lot of teenagers just because in the city of Boston, right, we have practices all over. You guys have to travel quite far to get to your high schools just because of how schooling is here in the city. And you develop agency because you have to become responsible enough to do that, get there, all of those things. Where I think, some of your teammates you'll probably have zero experience doing something like that, right?
Yeah.
But having that outlook is like, okay, this is going to be challenging. I'm going to get better because of it. Like, that's the wrestling outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 years there, going to be wrestlers, going to be roommates, possibly still coming back to Boston to be coaches in training in the summertime.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then, we'll see what lies ahead for grad school.
Yeah, I got to definitely do 3 more years to get my doctorate, so we'll see what comes ahead. But
What are the things you are working on just in general right now this summer to be best prepared to walk into that environment?
I'd say just like for me, staying on top of like, building good habits, like still in high school, obviously but like I don't personally have all my habits down, like checking my email every day, kind of just like, I think communication, honestly, like being communicative with people through other means other than just face to face or obviously like through our phones. Like for me, it's kind of, I'm not well developed in keeping up with everything that goes on around me.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just communication, because in college, obviously, like there's gonna be some professors that like if you don't show up to class, they're not gonna care. The class is gonna still go on, so I'm gonna have to build that habit. Like, okay, gotta be on top of my stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing that I've told you guys, and I tell kids who are getting ready to go off to school, is the routine, building the structure. When the structure goes away that you've had throughout your high school life, right, that's a different thing. Maybe you have a 10 a.m. class instead of having to be at school at 7:30. You have a dorm mate who doesn't have to be up that early. Maybe he's sleeping in. What's going to get you out of bed to get you there on time? Building those habits, or having habits that are built beforehand. Like this summer, we're going to be working out every morning. So like carry that forward to college, right? Those type of things, I think will leave you prepared that you hit the ground running once you get there.
Yeah, actually scheduling classes, that's something I did. We were reading over Coach Gibbs' email, and then he was saying don't schedule classes 3 to 6.
Yeah.
That was something that came to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I think is going to be exciting for both of you, because I'm a bit of an adventurer myself, is that BW goes on once every 4 years. They do an international trip as a wrestling team.
Yeah, they went to, I think, Greece last year.
Yeah.
They went to Greece. That looks pretty fun.
So I'm not sure. We don't know what it's going to be for you guys. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be an exciting opportunity for you. What do you think? You're going to go off to Mongolia and maybe get to wrestle and compete there, or we can connect you with Dan Russell at Jordan and you guys can get some international competition?
Something like
Oh
that.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you've been training quite a bit in freestyle this season.
One thing that freestyle has, well, I was thinking about like the Stars and Stripes tournament. I kind of got exposed in the situation. Is I think just transitioning that back into folk style. I think that's actually a blessing that I kind of got exposed in that situation. That's only gonna make me a better wrestler at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just seeing that outlook on freestyle. I do like. I was going to freestyle season. I was in really a big freestyler, but now I start to like it now.
Yeah, for me, definitely still more of a folk style fan, but wrestling is wrestling as long as I'm on the mat. So for, just getting out there, still competing, I'm happy I still have like more to do after my high school season is over.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I ask is because you're going off to college, and I know a lot of college programs don't emphasize wrestling freestyle in the off season. I think that's starting to change a little bit. I hope it's starting to change a little bit. Like high school, you're wrestling all year round. Freestyle tournaments are from April till July. So, I'm just putting this out there into the world that I hope that we start seeing more college kids competing in that sense in the off season. Right now, it's like mainly Big Ten guys or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing that I found interesting that some of the BW guys, they go to the U20s, the U23s.
That's awesome.
I think one of their guys or two of their guys went to the U.S. Open this past month. So that's one thing that actually kind of sparked my curiosity about BW also.
Well, hopefully while you're there, you're getting to compete and train with them, and that, they're like, hey, I'm going to this tournament. You need to sign up. You need to get there.
Yeah, I'll be the one doing that.
Yeah, I think we
There you
should
go.
do that.
Take the initiative. All right, so when we come back, we're going to do a couple rapid fire questions for these two. But remember, you're on WBCA 102.9 FM Boston, Boston's community radio station. We have Jarmanny and Sam here, and during the break, we were chatting and laughing a little bit. I want to ask the two of you, what is your favorite coach's quote? And this doesn't have to be something I've said. Could be any one of your coaches you've ever had.
Well, I don't know if this is a quote, but like it's like I don't know, something to think about. Shepard brought up the concept of like having a spoon and the spoon has oil and like just like I don't know, just like having your hand, don't drop the oil. And then you were saying that in practice, and then how I'm like thinking about it is like just being consistent. Like don't let the oil drop, don't let your consistency drop. That's how I'm thinking about it.
And what was your interpretation of that, Sam?
For me, it was like you're supposed to be able to like see where you need to improve, but still enjoy and love the process.
Okay. So this is a great example of like communication, right? The challenges of communicating across a wide number of people, and also like shared symbols. What are the symbols that you're sharing? So it's an ancient proverb, maybe not ancient, but it's an older proverb about, basically being able to walk through a museum, walk through a beautiful space without spilling the oil from the spoon, right? I gave you a spoon full of oil. Come back to me after spending a day here walking around the Louvre. What's that spoon look like? Well, did you carry it or did you spill it everywhere? Because if you spilled it everywhere, then you forgot to carry the little bit of discipline to make that happen. If you didn't spill any of it, then you missed out on all the beauty around you, right? So there we go.
Okay,
So
I see it.
I think Sam is a little bit closer to my interpretation, right? Is that, being able to lock in and be disciplined, doing the difficult things while also still enjoying the sport. Do we have any other good coaches quotes from Jose, Nairi, anyone?
Mr. V20
I know
in
I'm just
particular.
quoting things all the time. I'm like a mystery box full of quotes.
Yeah, you kind of are.
I think one quote that stands out. One of my assistant coach Dante Wilson, he said to me before this year, especially before all my matches, he was like, just like have fun. And like that could be interpreted like on the wrestling mat and in life. Like I feel like especially in wrestling, you're on your vision quest for the season. There's so much, you're just really locked in. Sometimes you just gotta like let loose, you gotta have fun. Just like how you were talking about, like with the spoon, like you're so disciplined and you miss out like what's around you. I feel like that could be interpreted the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we had Coach Gibbons on, and he had a very similar message, right? He said at BLS they're not talking about wins as much anymore. It's more about just trying to have fun. Go out there and have fun. Wrestle as long as you can. Try to have fun. It helps try to take some of that pressure, because the sport carries a lot of pressure to it. You're putting your foot on the line. It's just you versus someone else. Carries a lot of pressure. Of course, diamonds are made in pressure, right? But you put a lot of pressure on yourself at the same time. And, part of the challenge is like enjoying going out there and competing. I was telling you the other day, when you're at a certain age, like those opportunities to compete, that time's out. You ran out of time on that, which is fine. That's part of life. But you want to be able to get as many matches as you can in, reflect back and know that you approached them and had fun trying to enjoy that process, because at a certain time you're not going to be able to have that anymore. And that's why I'm excited that the two of you are going to continue wrestling in college, because there's a lot of self-discovery that happens putting yourself into that situation. And I was blessed to have started wrestling very early. I know you guys have fallen in love with the sport, and I want you to get as many opportunities to compete as possible, right? So on that note, I'm happy to have had two of Boston's finest right here, Jarmanny and Sam from BLA and JQ. I'm sure we're going to have you guys on again once you come back with your NCAA trophies from
sure.
BW. And, at that point, I might be an old man, so you might be able to maybe get a takedown or beat me in a push-up contest. So thanks for tuning into Camp, the Coaching and Mentoring Playbook. I am Shepard Vargo. You're on WBCA 102.9 FM Boston, Boston's community.